2026 Kawasaki KE250 concept. Future vision. Welcome to Motor. Today we are diving into something truly exciting. The possibility of a 2026 Kawasaki KE250, a legendary name that could return with modern technology and classic off-road DNA. Visuals open with a cinematic sunrise over mountains, dust flying in slow motion, and a silhouette of a green dual sport motorcycle standing on a rocky trail. The host walks toward the bike while the camera slowly circles, creating an adventurous and nostalgic mood. The voiceover continues, explaining how Kawasaki has a deep history in off-road and dual sport motorcycles, and how the K series once represented simple, tough go-anywhere machines built for real riders. Visual cut to vintage footage-style shots of classic Kawasaki enduro bikes riding through forests and dirt roads. The host explains that the original KE250 from the 1970s was a lightweight off-road machine powered by a two-stroke, single-cylinder engine producing around 27 horsepower, with a top speed close to 128 kilometers per hour, which was impressive for an enduro bike of that era. The camera shows close-up renders of a classic round headlight, spoke wheels, and high front fender, while the narrator talks about how these bikes were built for reliability and simplicity. Visual transition into a modern CGI concept of a 2026 KE250 rolling out of a futuristic Kawasaki design studio. The host voiceover explains that, while there is no official confirmation of a 2026 KE250 release, the idea of reviving classic names is common in the motorcycle industry. Many modern dual sport bikes evolve from older platforms, like how older, lightweight dual sports eventually evolved into models like the KLX and KLR families. The video shows comparison graphics between vintage K styling and modern dual sport designs. Visuals show a possible modern design interpretation. The host describes design possibilities: slim fuel tank, long seat for off-road control, high ground clearance, and aggressive but simple body panels. The bike would likely keep retro inspiration, like a round or retro-style LED headlight and classic Kawasaki green paint. The voiceover explains how modern riders want nostalgia, plus technology and brands are responding to that trend. Visuals show digital dashboard animations turning on. The host explains that if a 2026 KE250 existed, it would likely include full LED lighting, a digital display, fuel injection, and modern braking systems. The narrator explains how older bikes used simple carburetors and drum brakes, while modern bikes now use disc brakes and electronic engine management for better performance and reliability. Visual cut to engine animation. The host explains that a modern KE250 would likely use a four-stroke engine instead of two-stroke because of emissions regulations worldwide. The narration explains how modern 250cc dual sports usually focus on efficiency, reliability, and long service intervals rather than raw racing power. The video shows animated pistons, fuel injection spray, and exhaust flow simulation graphics. Visuals show off-road riding scenes, sand dunes, mountain trails, muddy forest roads. The host explains how the K series was always about versatility. A modern version would likely target adventure beginners, trail riders, and commuters who want a lightweight, durable motorcycle. Visuals cut to rider-proof camera riding through city streets, and then instantly switching to dirt trails. The host explains that dual sport bikes are popular because they can be used daily and still handle weekend adventures. Visual cut to suspension animation. The host explains that modern dual sport bikes usually use long travel, suspension, and lightweight frames to improve off-road performance and rider comfort. The narration explains how suspension technology has advanced massively compared to 1970s enduro bikes. Visuals show braking demo in slow-motion dirt riding. The host explains how modern bikes would likely include ABS, which helps prevent wheel lock during braking, making riding safer for beginners and experienced riders. Visuals show close-ups of tires gripping dirt. The host talks about how tire technology also improved, offering better grip and durability. Visual cut to lifestyle scenes: camping, road trips, adventure riding groups. The host explains that motorcycles like a future KE250 would be about freedom, exploration, and simplicity. Visual shows Kawasaki factory montage style animation. The host explains Kawasaki's long history of engineering durable off-road machines and performance motorcycles. Visual cut to night riding scene. The host explains how LED lighting would make night riding safer and brighter compared to older halogen lights. Visuals show concept customization: rally version, adventure version, supermoto version. The host explains how manufacturers now design bikes that can be customized easily for different riding styles. Visual cut to rider starting the bike in rain. The host explains modern reliability and weather resistance. thanks to sealed electronics and advanced materials. Visual shows rider removing helmet and smiling. The host explains how motorcycles are emotional machines, not just transportation, visual slow-motion riding into sunset. The host explains how reviving a KE name would connect past and future riders. Visual cut to studio lighting with concept bike rotating on display. The host says, a modern KE250 could be one of the best entry, adventure, or dual sport bikes if Kawasaki ever decides to revive the name. Visual final montage dirt riding, highway riding, city riding, and adventure camping scenes. The host concludes voiceover, saying that whether it becomes reality or stays a dream, the KE legacy still represents freedom, simplicity, and true off-road spirit. Thank you for watching SI Motor. If you love motorcycles, classic legends, and future concepts, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Tell us in the comments, do you want Kawasaki to bring back the KE250 in modern form?